Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dozer, and if you're new to the show, the mission here is to expose the quacks and gimmicks in the marketing industry while featuring some great marketers and entrepreneurs along the way. On this episode, I'm excited to welcome my guest, Samantha North. Now, Samantha is the head of content at Gimmicks Systems. I'm sorry if I butchered that name there. An AI and automation expert, and also has a PhD in data science as well. So, Samantha, thank you so much for hopping on the show.
Hey, Ryan. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's nice to be here. I love being on podcasts, and the concept of Marketing Quacks is right up my street. I like the idea of that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And you are not a marketing quack, at least from what I understand, by the way.
I was just
There's
going
a lot
to say,
of
I hope not.
Yeah, this is not a hit piece. I've had a couple people ask that right when they get on. I'm like, no, this is not a hit piece.
I'm a bit nervous.
But for those who haven't heard of you, let's just do a quick background on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, your introduction was spot on. I recently founded an agency called B2B Systems, and you did not butcher it. Thank you. And it's an AI automation agency for B2B service businesses. Where the name came from, an emigre is somebody who moves abroad for political reasons. And I escaped the UK in 2016 because of Brexit. So I count myself as an emigre, and I think that's quite a common theme in the world these days. Won't go down that rabbit hole. Anyway, I have a PhD in data science as well, and that a couple of years ago when I finally finished it propelled me on this path of getting into AI and building automations to help businesses do so much better and become more efficient. And before that, I was doing content and SEO for about 10 years, whether in-house for a company in London and also a lot of freelance stuff as well. So it's been a bit of a winding road, but it's finally led me here, and I feel I'm in a good place. Interesting work.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about the SEO and blogging stuff first. You said you were doing that for 10 years. What was that light bulb moment for you to transition to the AI and automations world?
Yeah, good question. I started in 2016 and 17, so that was really in-house content marketing. And then after that, went through a few things, but I built my own website in 2020 to help people relocate to Europe. And that was when I really started to drill into SEO and content. And the SEO was good after a year or so. It really kicked in and I got traction, and a lot of leads started pouring in. And because it was just, me and my business partner in the UK working on this, it was really overwhelming. And so after a while, after missing a lot of opportunities and revenue, I decided to double down on trying to automate things. And when Claude and ChatGPT came onto the scene, it just became so much easier and more fun to automate all of these processes. And that got me thinking, it was so transformational for that online business. Surely it would be transformational for others as well. So I decided to move into it as a service offering.
So I got to get your take on this quick. Are you a fan of Claude or ChatGPT for copywriting?
Oh my God, I am team Claude all the way. And you know why? I just had another call today where I learned why I like Claude so much. It's because the language models were trained on different sets of data, really. And the stuff that Claude was trained on is much more like academic and journalistic. And I always found that the flavor of the output it produced was much more in tune with what I wanted as a journalist, an academic, and a writer. Whereas ChatGPT was, as you probably know, very prone to cliches and slightly nonsensical things. Although it is getting better. So I'm team Claude for all things content, but I do use ChatGPT for a lot of other tasks as well. So yeah, they're both good in their own ways.
Yeah, likewise. I love Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and ChatGPT is notorious for the emojis and the long M dashes or whatever that Claude is not notorious for. But I want to get your take on something in the SEO space first before we get into the automation. So we hear it all the time, right? SEO is dead. This is dead. That's dead. I actually do believe that informational top of funnel queries are on their deathbed with the rollout of AI search and AI mode. What are your thoughts on the whole SEO is dead argument right now?
Yeah, I actually wrote a blog post about that a while back after one of the notorious Google updates. Yeah, I think there's two kinds of casualties here, and one is probably affiliate websites. A couple of years ago, it was quite easy to spin up an affiliate website and write a ton of content and get good traffic and revenue. But I think a lot of that has been taken over now, and as well as, yeah, like top of funnel queries, which could be monetized by ad revenue. That's also disappeared. So for people who are building their own blogs, the landscape has definitely changed dramatically. When it comes to actual businesses, like SaaS companies, for example, I think, yeah, like focusing on bottom of the funnel content and building that foundation of really well thought out pieces, comparing your features and benefits with the competitors, like, X competitor versus Y and alternatives to X and all that stuff. If it's done really well and thoughtfully, and you can use AI, but it should be used to augment your existing expertise from your sales team and so on. That's still an opportunity, but otherwise, like you say, I think, yeah, top of the funnel is not really worth the investment or the effort so much anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you on the middle and bottom of funnel. I also am very bullish on local SEO too. That's a whole other element of SEO. What do you think though, for someone who still wants to capture SEO as a traffic source? What are the most important ranking factors that someone should focus in the age of AI search?
I would say branded searches are really important. So, if somebody is searching for your company, your brand beyond just, the SEO long tail queries, they're searching for your name as an individual or your business's name right off the bat, then that is, I believe, a powerful ranking factor because it tells Google that you are known beyond just SEO and that you are, you have a presence, you have a brand presence out there that's not just search, right? And that's really important. I think the great thing about AI, though, in that sense, is that it makes it a lot easier to build that brand universe, as I call it, for yourself or your business, because you can write one blog post that's keyword optimized and all that stuff, but then you can easily use AI to repurpose that for all different social platforms, potentially for YouTube as well. So in that way, you can build that universe and you can increase your likelihood of people searching for you by brand or by name, which is going to be a good signal to Google. So that would be my top pick.
I agree with you on brand equity, both from a company and personal brand side, because how are these LLMs and AI search engines like Perplexity pulling the top results? Well, they're using backlinks, they're using brand mentions, they're using PR, podcasts, what you're doing right now, right? So the fundamentals have never changed. It's just different mediums of people getting to the information. You mentioned
Exactly.
content repurposing. I want to ask you something about that quick. What's your personal favorite workflow, I guess, for turning one long form video into multi platform content? Because I do this all the time. So I'm curious to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I actually built a workflow out in make.com a couple of weeks ago now. I shared it on LinkedIn, I think, recently. What it does is it watches your YouTube channel for new videos being posted in the background. It runs in the background. And then as soon as a new video is published, it runs into 4 different Claude modules, and they're all set up with like proven frameworks and stuff to make it tailored for each specific platform's algorithm. LinkedIn, I've got LinkedIn, Facebook, email newsletter. That's a good one. That's more of a longer form story type thing that segues into your offer. And then the final one is a Twitter thread, which you could also use for Blue Sky or Threads. I don't use Twitter that much anymore, but a lot of people do. So yeah, and then it just pops all that stuff into Airtable in these different sections for each one, and it's there ready to copy paste into the platforms. I don't do auto posting so much or at all really. I know you can, but I think that it's a bit risky. And I just like to have that final set of human eyes on the content and a few tweaks.
So you'd rather put it into Airtable first than just kind of the auto post through the API. I actually have an automation set up and make almost similar to what you're explaining that I'm looking at right now. Actually, Twitter just disabled their API access. I don't know if you saw that inside Make, but you can do that too, right? I have a YouTube automation set up to watch my channel, use Apify to scrape the transcript, and then repurpose that to all the other mediums. I am so bullish
Yeah.
on content repurposing. That's why I always tell people you have to start with long form video as your foundation.
Absolutely. Or a long form blog post, but I think you can intertwine the two. Like I would always recommend having, let's say you have one idea, right? I would always recommend doing a blog post and a YouTube video about the same idea, and you can use AI to help make that process easier. You could even repurpose one to another, but it takes a bit of skillful prompting, I think, to get it right. And then once you've got those two long form pieces, you've got everything you need to chop up and repurpose downstream, whatever, for the socials.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk more about automations now and the B2B service side of things. So it can be very overwhelming, right? What do you tell a B2B service business who knows what automations are, but is so overwhelmed by this? Where would you say that these people should start?
I would say start by taking a audit of the processes that you are doing, your team is doing over and over again that feel repetitive and that feel right too manual. Making a list or a brainstorm of those is always a good place to start. And I would also, when making that list, be guided by the things that are closest to the revenue, because let me give you
That's
an
a good point.
example. Yeah, like if you're getting a lot of incoming leads, and they're getting on discovery calls with, let's say, your agency, and then after the discovery call they ask for a proposal, and these can take hours and hours, right? I mean, I've been through so much pain myself writing proposals manually. It's awful. But I've built an automation now that I'm very happy with, that records the discovery call, takes the transcript, and then it uses Claude to craft that into a proposal behind the scenes and slots it into PandaDoc. And then it's already there in PandaDoc waiting. Of course, I don't send it automatically. I always review it because this is really important. But something like that, it just makes it so much easier to deal with sales calls and saves hours and hours in sales teams' time creating and agonizing over proposals.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. What are the biggest mistakes you see B2B service business making with automations right now?
I think one is like not having the ducks in a row beforehand. Like, like if you don't have a offer nailed down properly, or your website is terrible or something like that, then it's not much point building automations on top of things like that. You do have to have certain things dialed in, I think, before proceeding to automate. But it is possible just to start very small and simple. Even something like having an autoresponder that writes an intelligent email back to in response to incoming leads, rather than leaving it for 24 hours for a human to get to. Even something simple like that. But yeah, like good to have the fundamentals in place before looking to automate stuff.
For sure. And I think in some instances, automations can actually be overhyped. Same with agents, in my opinion. So, what are
Definitely.
some critical tasks where you think the human element is still involved versus just automating everything? For me, it's high ticket sales. I think if you're in the world of high ticket
Mm.
sales, you need that human and personal connection to better close that sale, in my opinion. So, what are some instances, in your opinion, where the human touch is still needed?
Yeah, my high ticket sales. Yeah, that is a definite. I mean, we used to deal with incoming inquiries like for investment products in different European countries, like investment visas, and these people were looking to invest, €500,000 or more. So that needed to be funneled to a partner who could get on a video call with them and speak face to face, right? So some of that process could be automated, but not the actual speaking face to face on the video call. There's no way you'd automate that. So that's that one. And I think to an extent, content. So I say that, and we just talked about, all these pipelines for repurposing automatically. But I feel that at the beginning, when we're crafting that long form blog or YouTube, then there is a lot of human that should be brought in at the beginning. And that could look like, either using some human examples or opinions or anecdotal things, stories, something. If it was B2B SaaS, let's say, I would want to talk to their sales team and their customer success team, for example, before building a bottom funnel content pipeline, even if it was automated, because we have to know what the real life customer problems are from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And that's where the human side comes in. So it's kind of like an AI sandwich, right? I've been using this a lot recently, and I like this term because you have all the human input at the beginning. The AI does its thing in the middle, as it's supposed to do, as you've designed it to do, and then you get the output, and it still might need that final once over and those extra tweaks. So you've got human, and then you've got your AI thing in the middle doing what it does best. So yeah, I think there's human in most of the processes, really. It just depends exactly where and to what extent.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So you mentioned Make. I actually use Make for a lot of my automations as well. I've used Zapier, dabbled in N8N. What are your takes on all of these different no code automation tools? It feels like there's so many of them out there. You said Make. Is that kind of your preference with this stuff?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So I got started on this using Make. Also, my background, despite the PhD in data science, I actually don't like coding at all. I had to do some
I
Python
don't
R
either.
as part of my studies, and I really hated it. And I said never again. So I couldn't force myself if there's something needed to be done, but I would rather default to no code and low code tools. So yeah, make.com is my primary one, especially now they brought in AI agents. It's really expanded that functionality so much. I've never actually used Zapier. I was always aware of it for a long time, but never really ventured in. It didn't quite grab me. Something about the interface, maybe. NA10, I've watched tutorials on it, but again, I haven't taken the plunge because I don't really want to invest in yet another tool right now. But it's definitely on my radar, and I know that there's things it can do. I think that maybe give it an edge over Make. I'm not sure. I need to look into that. But there's also Relevance AI, which is interesting as well. Have you tried that one?
I've heard of that one, and also Lindy AI is kind of the new one coming up.
Ooh, haven't done much of a Lindy AI. I have to find a tutorial on that one just to see. But yeah, no, I like Make. I like the interface. I think it's really intuitive, and it's really fun to use, right? And it's quite exciting to build in it because of all the colored bubbles.
And I'm not an expert in this whole thing, but from what I understand is that they can still accomplish the exact same things. It's just a different way to piecemeal it, and they have some different integrations here and there.
Definitely.
I want to hear your take quickly on AI agents. Do you think they're overhyped? Are they very practical right now for the average B2B service business? What's your take on AI agents?
It really depends on what you want to achieve. I think that there is a lot of hype around them at the moment. There's also, this slightly ego-driven thing happening, I think, where people like to post about the fancy agents that they've built, which is cool. I'm tinkering with them myself, but not every business needs them, and it can be overkill. Yeah, like, I would say, let's say you wanted to replace your SEO team with an agent, that could be done. But you could also get a lot of mileage with a well thought out, well prompted, bottom of the funnel content automated pipeline, for example. So you can do a lot with just a normal pipeline workflow in Make rather than an agent. Also, I think when the task is just sort of something passing from one module to another without needing autonomy, then you don't really need an agent. So yeah, there's a lot of tasks that it would be overkill for. But still, like, it's super exciting, and I'm definitely big into that and learning and watching stuff and building things all the time. So yeah, like, definitely very, very early days yet, and there's going to be a lot of good stuff in the world of AI agents. So yeah,
I completely
definitely.
agree with you on that, the take on agents. And I think kind of tying into my next question about marketing quacks, I think one gimmick that we're seeing a lot right now in the automations agent space, everyone wants to build these cool workflows. Oh my God, guys, look at this agent. It goes viral on social media, whatever. But my question is, what did that accomplish? What is the quality of those inputs in that agent? I don't care if you created an agent that does a million blogs overnight. No one talks about the quality component behind this. You still have to have the subject matter expertise, in my opinion, paired with the automation for it to be worthwhile.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ryan. I actually posted about this, I think, a few days ago, saying that, yeah, kind of like what you just said, really, that it's all very well, people are posting stuff like my blog workflow churns out 1,000 blogs a day, but like you say, there has to be some SEO and content expertise in the prompt, as well as subject matter expertise, right? Otherwise, they're just going to be trash, like Chat GPT level trash.
I could rip out a
So
million
yeah,
blogs with GPT 4.0 overnight, but if I don't have a quality
yeah.
backlink profile and a DR 70, 80, 90 site, I'm not going to rank for anything significant. And no one wants to talk about that side of it.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how, well, there's lots of big publications that have been getting away with ranking all kinds of random things
Forbes
just because they
Advisor.
have I was going to say it, but you said it for me.
Yeah. I was in
Wasn't
the
sure the
affiliate world,
defenders.
high ticket affiliate world for a long time. So
Yeah.
I understand how this game works.
Oh yeah, yeah. Parasite SEO as well. I don't know. I haven't really got ventured into that.
Do you
There's a
know who
lot of,
Charles Float
yeah.
is? I actually
I
had him
do,
on my
yeah.
podcast. Yeah.
We had a call once. He was in Bangkok. I think we were chatting about. I think he was giving me some tips on PR backlinks and all this stuff. Yeah, yeah. He's really, really smart guy.
He's the
But he's
king of
well into
Parasite
Parasite.
SEO, I like to
I know,
call.
I know. He's a bit of a grey hat type, isn't he? But it's interesting. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So let's keep on the topic of
Yeah.
marketing quacks now. What are some marketing tricks and gimmicks, according to you, Samantha, that you see all over the place that people do? This could be in the automations, AI world, SEO, content. What are some marketing quacks for you?
Good question. Something that's one of my pet peeves is, okay, AI commenting on LinkedIn. So let me explain. Most of my posts for the last 3 to 6 months have been AI generated, but it's coming from me recording my thoughts into a note, and then a system in the background runs it through a carefully built prompt and spits it out at the end. And I tweak it, right? So it's not just like AI, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm noticing is that when people come in to comment on the posts, they seem to be just plugging the post into whatever thing, ChatGPT, it seems like, and this just repeats the point of the post and adds some silly, banal remark. So I really don't like that. I think I'm all for AI in a lot of different things, but I find like with commenting on LinkedIn, the goal is to build rapport and community and engage with people, right? So I never use AI comments on any of my posts or other people's posts because I think that just defeats the whole object and the whole value in that exercise. So that would be my number one marketing quack at the moment.
That's a
Do
good
you
one.
want more? Yeah. Do they have to be like kind of things that are negative, or can they just be like?
I mean, we touched on the automations one for me, and I'm also a YouTube creator. So
Yeah.
the clickbait side of it for me is a huge one, especially in the AI. I'm an AI YouTuber. So I'm not going to say certain names, but there are a couple channels in particular. Every video is RIP Chat GPT. Oh my God, check this out, right? The shiny object syndrome in the world of AI and automations is a
Yeah.
huge marketing quack, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. In terms of, I think there was one question that I looked when I was prepping for this about marketing experts, right? That I follow, and there's a couple on YouTube in automation that I think are really legit. Like, do you know this guy Nick Sarai? He's
Nick
got a
Sarai. Now I know who AI Jack is. I'm actually in his community.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen a couple of his videos, but Nick is really another level. You know, he's got very very detailed, in depth, and he really walks you through every possible detail in building these automations. I would say he's the one I've learned the most from along this journey so far, and he's got a good community. So
What was his name?
definitely
Nick what?
Nick Saraev. It's I think I'm saying it right. It's Saraev.
Okay, I'll look that up after this for sure.
Yeah, smart guy, great stuff. I've learned a ton from him on YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, Samantha, this has been fun. Any final notes that we had in this episode about marketing advice, automations advice, just for those listening, if you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think you know, like people shouldn't be afraid of AI or dismiss it as, you know, something that just creates trashy content, because there's a lot of trashy content out there, but that is not really the fault of AI. It's because people are using it and expecting it to do everything with minimal prompting, right? If you put the expertise and the effort in there from the beginning, then you can get some really high quality content and results out of it. So, you know, instead of just dismissing it or you know, running away from it, you should just learn to master it so you can really augment yourself and your skill set as a marketer, as a founder, as an entrepreneur. This stuff's powerful and it's not going away, so it's best to learn how to do it right.
That's what I always tell people. It's like anything in life. Quality inputs equals quality outputs. Garbage in, garbage out,
Garbage
right?
in, garbage out, the old maxim. Yes. For
Yep, that's
sure.
right. So, where can people follow you online, Samantha, to learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, to look at my AI automation agency, it's emigre.ai. So that's EMIGRE.ai. And SamanthaNorth.com is my personal website with my blogs about various topics in SEO content and AI automation.
Awesome. Well, Samantha, thank you so much for your time and joining this episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. For everyone listening, be sure to tune in again next time.
Thanks for having me.